Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share something with you. I've been struggling and debating and going back and forth as whether do I want to do a video like this or not. Although the planet community is quite wonderful, I'm just not quite sure about the type of comments. But I actually want to have a discussion. I want to see what people think. I want to see what people think out there. I want to see if there's what are your thoughts about some of the things I'm going to share with you. A lot of people believe in someone called Jesus, which is the God of Christianity. There are others that believe in Buddha. Jews believe the Mashiach, and the Mashiach hasn't come yet. And so there's a lot of different, and not to leave the Muslims out, they believe in Allah, right? And so all these religions, and religion means regalia, to bind in Latin. And all these different religions believe that their God has come and gone. And I know I grew up Jewish, not very Orthodox, but just the Reformed Jew. And I could tell you that I've always questioned it because I found it hard to believe that my superhero, my God, would just die. And why would he die for my sins? And I don't remember doing any sins. As a child, of course, I'm sharing this. So in this particular video, I'm going to share with you a section in Matthew, and I'm hoping to have a series like this where I go through different sections when I do my Bible studies, and I'll show you, hopefully, how God is within each of us. That's the reason the sides of our head are called temples. That's why we have a one-seeing eye, and Jesus was crucified between two thieves. Two thieves, the two eyes that can lie to you, our physical eyes. And so there's a lot to share here. There's a lot of esoteric and occult. Occult means hidden, and it comes from the word ocularis, which is an eye, to see. So what I'm hoping to do is to stop trying to convince you and actually show you in the Bible where it says that. And I do read the Bible every day. I try to read the Bible every day and mark it up, and I have multiple different ones. And the reason I do that is because it reminds me that we are literally creating our life. We are part of the Creator, and we are molding ourselves into the God that we want. So when they say we were created in the image of God, I think we're the ones responsible for creating that image. So what does God look like? And I do think Jesus is pretty badass if you ask me. And it's unfortunate that Jews don't read the New Testament because I think that the New Testament really shows the other side of God, of the Creator. And also, if you look at the Mashiach, the word Mashiach in Hebrew, if you take the root word of it, and I'm sure some will argue, and that's okay, and I'm looking forward to learning more and expanding my horizons and my thoughts. But the word Mashiach comes from the word limshoch. Limshoch in Hebrew means to pull out, to pull. You remember Moses was pulled by Miriam, right? And so if you look at limshoch, you pull out what and from where? And so when I had that epiphany as I went through life, and of course always questioning, right? I came to the realization, and the New Testament proves it, as well as many other things, that you pull out the God within you, and you have to see where God is within you in order for you to be able to create yourself in the image of what you think God should be. Is God like the Old Testament, where it could be very jealous God, very punishing God, and also very loving God? Or is God, did God put us here to create using the energies in this universe and to really do create our life the way we see it? And so when they say sin, I'm going to put up a little image here of the word sin and its definition. But a sin, obviously there's sin in mathematics, there's sin in the religion sense, which is doing something terrible where God had to sacrifice himself for your sins in order for you to live, right? But sin is also a term in archery, the bow and arrow in archery. When you think about sin, it means to miss the mark. Well, what mark? Miss the mark of the creative process of yourself. Missing the mark. When you desire something, and desire comes from God. I do believe that. When you have those thoughts or that inspired action for inspiration, it's because you want to create. So as you could see in this video, I'm going through Matthew 17 currently, and I'm highlighting things. Again, this is a reminder. I do this often where I go through, and every time I read the Bible, every few years, I'm a different person. So the meanings stick out to me, and some things that I completely missed before are now like, wow, I could so see the connection now. It's really there. So if you look at when, even if you look at the word prophet and you see I have Elijah there, or if you think about John, which was a prophet as well, if you look at the etymology of words is the true meaning of the word, the original meaning of the word, the source, right? They always say when you question anything, consider the source. Well, this is the same idea. The Bible's terms have been changed over and over and over again. So if you understand them in Hebrew and Aramaic, or if you want to go back to Latin, you'll be able to understand the root meaning of the word. So to go back to the word prophet, it's simply one that comes before you to set it for you. Sorry about that. To set the place for you, and that's what it does. If you look at some of these notes that I'm putting here, also, another thing, and I'm sure probably a lot of you are already aware, but the word to kill and to murder, those are two separate words in Hebrew. They are different words. And so Jesus kept saying, he kept predicting, right, prophesying that he's going to be killed, not murdered. Murder is when you take a life with no cause. Killed is something that is either for self-defense, self-preservation. And if you think about the creative process, in order for you to become someone else, this is who I am now, but this is who I want to become. My old me has to die. It has to be killed in order for the new me to be born with these new qualities, these new things in my life. And of course, I go through the growth and goal setting process all the time, right? Like we all do. So when we have those desires and wanting to create something, think of that. What prophet are you setting forward? Like Elijah is indeed coming first to get everything ready. Or like, and that's Matthew 17, verse 11 that I just highlighted. So my prophet, once I see it in my mind's eye, in the one eye, right, in my imagination, Jesus often talks about children, and they are the most, they're very precious to Jesus, right? If anyone hurts a child, he says that is the worst offense. Why? Because children are imaginative. There could be anything in their mind, and they do not pay attention to the stones or the facts of life. So, bringing it back to when you create something in your mind, you are prophesizing your future. And if you stay true to it by not allowing the devil to creep in doubt, I mean, Jesus has some amazing parables, and they're all in there, and we'll go through them together. If you notice, Jesus healed a lot of people that had leprosy. Well, leprosy, if you look back at the Aramaic Hebrew word, and my mom and I were talking about this because it's called tsaevet. And tsaevet, literal translation is leprosy, skin disorders, something wrong with the skin, right? It's a disease that was very common back then. But if you look at the leprosy, it was actually man-made by eugenicists. If you look at etymology of that word, what am I saying? I'm saying that we create our own problems. So when we create our own problems, we go to God to solve them. We have ideas of, oh, I wish I was out of this problem. I wish this problem would just go away, right? And how does Jesus baptize? He baptizes by fire. Well, fire is conflicts. Fire is difficult experiences where you are literally being casted into that beautiful sword or that shiny sword. You're being casted, even a diamond, you know the story. It has to go through very high temperatures in order for it to turn from cold to a beautiful diamond. It baptizes by fire, whereas John baptized by water. And if you look at Judaism and some of the rituals in Judaism, there's something called a mikvah. And a mikvah is where you dip yourself in water. A woman does it. They say after her cycle, she has to go do that to purify herself. And then men can do it as well. But you go and baptize. Obviously, it's not baptism in Judaism, but they go and baptize themselves in water because water is purifying. It cleanses. But fire does what? Fire destroys and creates something completely different. The phoenix rising from the ashes. When wood burns completely, it burns to ash. Well, ash is very alkalizing. Ash is very healing, believe it or not. Ash is used in a lot of different ways. It actually is used to make soap back in the day. So I want to kind of bring together the idea that the Bible is a collection of what was thought about back in those days. Because remember, the Bible was not given to us by an entity that we don't know. It was given to us by people. So people wrote it from their perspective. There is no way to write something with complete objectivity. It has to go through our own mind, our own one eye, and our own belief system in order for it to be produced or created. So I think we are parts of God that are the creators that are here to create. And some of us also destroy. If you leave a marriage, you're a destroyer, right? You're a destroyer of something that was, a structure of some kind. If you are deciding to lose weight, you are destroying the fat and you're getting rid of it. You're baptizing by fire. Exercise is literally breaking down the muscles, which causes them to grow. So to go back to the Bible, it's a collection of context. You cannot take it out of context, in my opinion. I think you have to really read everything, but understand it from a context perspective. Because it does make a difference to the meaning. And really, at the end of the day, all there is meaning. All there is are labels. It's not just, take it literally. You have to take it figuratively sometimes as well. And so, actually, here's another one. Like, for example, Capernaum, which was a city. On their arrival in Capernaum, the collectors of the temple tax came to Peter and asked him, "Doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax?" "Yes, he does," Peter replied. Then he went into the house. But before he had a chance to speak, Jesus asked him, "What do you think, Peter? Do kings tax their own people or the people they have conquered?" That's important to know because Jesus had 12 disciples. There are 12 qualities of mind. There are 12 cranial bones. There are 12 systems in your body. That's no accident. King Arthur's 12 knights in the round table. So the reason for that is because have you conquered your mind and are you able to create? Because you're creating all the time, whether you're doing it in nonchalant way, now realizing you're actually creating every time you're speaking within your mind, every time you're having a conversation with someone in your mind, whether it's positive or negative, you literally are inviting, you're prophesizing that future event into your life. And then you wonder, well, where did it come from? And trust me, I do that too. But the idea is to conquer the mind, which is supposed to be our slave, not the other way around. Because we are the kings. We are the ones that ask the questions, right? That's why Jesus asked the questions before Peter could. Peter is a disciple. It's the mind. It's part of the mind. Peter was considered the rock, right? And again, it's going back to imagination. Now, there's a part here that comes up, which is really one of my favorites. And I think it's on page, let me see. It is on this page 1472. And there is the at least one example where Jesus was talking about acting like children, right? Because children are, I don't think humble is used in the same terminology as it is today, where you're supposed to be um, lower yourself worth, if you will, in front of others. As the word humility or humble is used, right? Lower your opinion for the sake of others' opinion over yours. I disagree with the word humble. I think that it means become as humble or as naive, become naive as a little child. And I heard once, I don't remember where I heard this, but we die 3 times. Once our naivety dies, right? When we find out Santa Claus is not real, or the tooth fairy is not real, that's our naivety. And then we lose our innocence, and finally we lose our life. So we actually die 3 different times, and we have to be careful not to die so much to what is, thinking that that's all there is. And you can see I wrote down naive there. I'm hoping one day my children will have this Bible and understand they create their own reality. I wish I would have known this a long time ago, but I think you have to go through life experiences to really um, have it make sense, because you've been through the fire, you've been through those experiences. I know I've had an experience that was, it doesn't matter which job I went to, it was always the same experience. And so I started thinking, what's the common denominator here? I was the common denominator. So I created every single experience. The faces changed, the roles of the people changed, but it was exactly the same experience and the same outcome. And so as I'm a pattern finder, I'm a data scientist. So for me, I was kind of shocked how long it took me to realize this is, I was causing this, right? And that's when I started researching quite a bit to try to understand what it is I was missing, and then all became clear. And they say, as God says, once the student is ready, the teacher appears. So it was pretty amazing to figure it out, because it put me on the road to ask so many other questions that I think it was just amazing. So if you look here on page, actually everybody's page will be different. If you look at the section that I highlighted right on the top, it says, go out and search for the one that is lost. For example, if a man has 100 sheep and one of them wanders away, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others on the hills and go out to search for the one that is lost? That is to say, you have shelter, you have a job. Yes, you may hate it. You have a partner, you may not like them very much right now. You have all these wonderful things. You have a chair, you have a blanket, you have clothes, you have good teeth, you have beautiful hair, you have eyes that you could see. You have all these 99 sheep, but you are concerned with one thing. One thing. And it says, you will occupy your mind with the one that is lost, the one that has leprosy, the one that is one problem, rather than focusing. Like he says, I tell you the truth, he will rejoice over it more than over the 99 that didn't wander away, with exclamation points. That is to say, instead of you spending thank yous and gratitudes about all these other things you have, completely ignoring the one that got away, you are doing the wrong thing. In the same way, it is not my heavenly Father's will that even one of these little ones should perish. So your mind is occupied with something that is bothering you, or a desire or a problem, but you're not spending the time to be thankful for the 99 that you have. The part that I have in brackets there, I tell you the truth, whatever you forbid on earth will be forbidden in heaven. Heaven is is a state of mind. Heaven, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth, not hell. It doesn't talk about anything to do with hell. There is no hell. Religion tells you go to hell after you die. Well, nobody's been able to prove it. And you must trust your insights. You must trust your intuition. There is no hell. What you agree to is yes or no, or okay or not okay, here, out here, it's recorded in your heaven, in your subconscious mind. From these premises, creation will take place. And that's Matthew 17, verse 15 through 19. And it says, if two of you agree here on earth concerning anything you ask, my Father in heaven will do it for you. Two on earth is your neocortex, your logical mind, and your subconscious mind, the right hemisphere, creativity, imagination. If you can see or prophesize what you want to create in your mind, and it happens, it gets created out here in this reality. So you have to be, one of the 10 commandments, you're not supposed to divorce. It's not talking about out here in reality where a man and a woman cannot divorce. That's not what it's talking about. It's talking about your logical mind and your subconscious mind, or other people may say your mind and your heart, must agree in order for you to create your reality. As a matter of fact, if you look in Matthew 18, where it talks about, let's see, chapter 19. Okay, I'll wait until I get to that area to talk about that particular thing, but it's mind-blowing. It's literally all here in the Bible. It tells you exactly how to live. If you look at, then Peter came to him and asked, Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times? No, not 7 times, Jesus replied, but 70 times 7. Remember that the reason these are called scriptures, the first word etymology is script. Well, who follows a script? An actor does. So if you're creating a prophecy in your mind, or you see an imaginative act, or you're having an argument with someone in your mind that hasn't happened in this reality, but in your mind it has, because you're having an argument with someone, or you're talking about how much you love someone in your mind's eye, positive or negative, you are literally writing a script. So when someone in this reality comes to greet you with the spirit of what you created in your mind, whether it's negative or positive, aren't they doing what you scripted? That's why you have to forgive them. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. That means that everything here is God. Everything. Inanimate, animate is God and doing God's will. So when you have free will, it's not out here in this 3D reality. Your free will is choosing what you're going to create in your mind's eye. So that's why you must always forgive them. Because they're literally they're putting you on a chain of events of what you want to create, what the end. So when they say, does the end justify the means? It does every time. Because the end result is what you're creating in your mind's eye. So when it says, treat others as you would like to be treated, that I have here, I forgave you that tremendous debt because you pleaded with me. Shouldn't you have mercy on your fellow servant, just as I had mercy on you? Remember, every one of us is very different. So when you say the golden rule, or treat others as you would like to be treated, that's also very different. It's not the same for everyone. For example, I'm a very straightforward person, and I appreciate straightforward conversation. It's not convoluted, and you have to read between the lines. I prefer straightforward conversations. Well, I'm a straightforward person because I appreciate it, but others don't appreciate straightforward conversation. They require sugarcoating. They require going the long way around to get to a point. So you really have to treat others as you would like to be treated, and that comes from love, because that's how you would like to be treated. How they receive it is none of your business, right? Because you're playing a part, or you're following a script for them as well. Sometimes they need a straightforward discussion, right? Or what some people will call tough love. So when he says in Matthew 19, verse 4, he says, haven't you read the scriptures that I just mentioned? A script? Jesus replied, they record that from the beginning. God made them male and female. Again, that's your conscious and subconscious mind. When we first came here, we were literally blank tapes. We've recorded how to behave, we've recorded how to act, we've recorded languages about our reality in our life. And then we wonder, where did all this programming come from? Why do I fear money? Why do I, whatever your hang up is, whatever your belief system is, you need to explore it. And that's why he says he created them male and female. Well, people associate this with Adam and Eve, or genders of people. It's not about that. It's about the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. And if you look at the right hemisphere and left hemisphere and their qualities, you will see the right hemisphere is the womb of creation. It's creativity. It's what impregnates the logical mind, which is cold and calculating and more associated with male masculinity, right? Where it's fact-based, mathematics, whereas the right hemisphere is more creativity and drawing outside the lines and doing things you want to do that makes you happy. So you have to agree. The right hemisphere and left hemisphere have to agree in order to create the reality you want. You have to prophesize what it is you want. See it in your mind's eye as already done. See the end already done in your mind's eye. So it's not about not divorcing men or women in this reality. It's making sure that they are united as united can be in your mind's eye. And that will create the life that you want. So it's not out here where you have to struggle and hustle and all these things. You have to pay attention. You have to pay with a coin of heaven, meaning a state of mind, meditation, visualizing what you want. And you could do something you're not attached to, something very simple. Like in your mind's eye, see someone giving you flowers. Doesn't matter who it is. Just see a hand giving you flowers. And how happy you are. Use all your senses to be able to see you receiving those flowers. And someone will give you flowers. And you don't get to determine when or how that will happen. Just like Jesus says, no one knows the time except the Father. No one. That means that you prophesize. You see the future before it's there, right? That's what prophesizing means, or predicting. Or in my Father's house, there are many kingdoms, right? Let me go and prepare them for you. That means your disciple goes ahead of you and creates it, and you don't know how. That's God doing all the work. Here I'm looking at my phone because I wanted to show you how real this is. When Jesus talks about when you have a desire and you don't agree within yourself, which is the neocortex, the male side of the brain, and the subconscious, which is the female side of the brain, you are literally become as a eunuch, which is kind of like a Ashkenazi type word. We don't use that in Israel very much. But that literally, if you look at etymology, if you look at this website, etymonline.com, eunuch means a castrated man. Why? Because if the female part of your brain, the womb of creation, the subconscious, does not, if you haven't impregnated her with an idea in your imagination, you are very much like a castrated man. Jesus says, Moses permitted divorce only as a concession to your hard hearts, but it was not what God had originally intended. And I tell you this, whoever divorces his wife and marries someone else commits adultery. unless his wife has been unfaithful. So your subconscious mind is what creates. And just like a male is there to protect a female, that's the reason a female can be raped, but a male cannot. I mean, they can be raped, yes, but they will not get pregnant. They won't, it's not a creative act, right? When a male and a female do the act, then it's a creative act. It's with the, at least initially, it was with the idea to create a child. Well, every time you're creating a desire, you losing 100 pounds or whatever it is, isn't that a desire? An impregnation of a desire. I want this. And then what happens is when you see it in your mind's eye and you don't allow doubt, like I don't have that degree, or I don't have that type of partner, or I don't live in that type of neighborhood, whatever it is, you are allowing Satan, the devil, to steal the seed. There's another section in Matthew, and we'll go through that in another time, where